Hey, coaches, welcome back to Football Talk with Coach Chip. At the same place I was at, the very first video I ever made for this channel on the good old YouTube. Don't forget to share it, to like it, and most importantly, subscribe to it and watch it. We're over 1,300 subscribers, very faithful group at that. A lot of emails coming at siegel.chip@gmail.com. And of course, we got our the Twitter account is at Chip Siegel. That's Coach Chip at Chip Siegel, and then we got Football Talk with Coach Chip on Facebook. All right, let me reduce myself. Okay. Now, today we're going to be looking at this is more of a philosophy video. It's not going to get into X's and O's. I'm going to show you some X's and O's, but it's called practical conditioning drills, and I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. It's story time with Coach Chip. And we're going to talk a little bit about how I got to my philosophy. And it bumps heads a lot with the guys I work with. Um, there's some, so we got to run, but coach, we're going to run no matter what. And that's fine. And I just don't believe in it, especially during the season. I'm not going to argue with anybody, especially if they're my boss. Well, that's not true. If I respect you, I'll argue with you. If I'm ever on your staff and I never argue with you, uh, I won't be there long. If I respect you, I will argue with you, debate with you, and not in front of the kids, and usually not in front of the coaches, but in the privacy of your office or mine. And we'll discuss this, and I'll tell you why. I just don't believe during the season, I mean, we need to keep our legs under, especially, those of y'all that are loyal subscribers and viewers of my channel. You know that I've devoted the latter part of my career after spending the middle part of it, the middle 15 years at huge schools. I find it hilarious that I have coaches say to me, well, you've never coached at the big time. Well, first off, I've told you before, the big time is wherever I'm at. And if that's not your attitude, that the big time is wherever you're at, it's not where you are that's not big time. You're not big time. I have coached at what they call the big time. I've coached at schools with 2,000 kids. I chose to return to my roots where I started. I played at a big school when I was in high school. And when I started coaching, it was at smaller schools. And then I went to the big schools for that middle part of the career. And I decided to go back to my roots. And I enjoy it. I enjoy knowing every kid in the school. It's got nothing to do with necessarily. Now, I'll be honest with you. I would love to coach at a school with 200, 250 kids and have 70 kids on the football team, and none of them go both ways. I still know every kid in the school and don't have to worry about kids going both ways. But when you're at a situation where you got kids going both ways, now I think you need to run them pretty good during the summer. But once it starts, once the season starts, I just firmly believe we just need to chill out. And let me tell you where I got that. Let me move my floating head. Okay. In 1993, first medium-sized school, pretty good sized school, probably 800 kids. The first big school I took a job at, I had been at some small rural schools, was Muscle Shoals, Alabama, Muscle Shoals High School. Um, and we all coached multiple sports except for the head coaches. Well, heck, the head basketball coach was our running backs coach. The uh, the baseball coach coached football, and I guess the only one that didn't coach two sports was the head football coach. And I was the DC at the time, and I coached the middle school basketball team. Well, the head basketball coach got us all signed up for Bobby Knight's, and he was still called Bobby Knight then before he went to being Bob Knight, to his basketball clinic in Indianapolis. And he was wired, he was mic'd. And we're all there. I think they call it Assembly Hall up there in Indiana in Bloomington. And he was mic'd up, and they'd do practice with him mic'd up, and then he'd open it up to questions. And this one poor coach, God bless him, there was probably 3,000, 3,500 of us uh, basketball coaches there from all over the United States. I mean, we drove all night from North Alabama to Bloomington, Indiana to to go to this clinic. And there were guys there from New York City, Chicago, Detroit, Kansas City, you name it, probably up from around Minnesota. They were everywhere, from everywhere. And this poor, pitiful soul says, Coach, we've been watching practice now. This is like on Saturday evening. We've been watching 3 or 4 practice sessions. This is preseason for them, like the first week of their practice. And and he said, haven't you been here the whole time? He goes, yes, sir. Haven't you watched my clinics? He said, yeah, coach. He said, what do I look like, an effing track coach? In front of, and everybody laughs, uncomfortable laugh because now we're embarrassed for the guy. But one thing I learned in 1993 from Coach Knight, good coaching is good coaching regardless of the sport. Lessons are not hard to find if you are teachable. And right then, and I'd always been kind of a Knight fan because of his, I was what, 14 when he had that undefeated, the last undefeated Division I team in men's basketball. And so the mystique of that, had me as a fan of his. And of course, at the time, we weren't aware that some of his other stuff that he would do, but he was a fine coach, a good coach. And he ran his practices in such a way. His point was, he said, if you watch these practices, that they're nonstop. They're nonstop. The drills. And one thing now, one of the secrets, and I think this is what Pat Summit did the same thing at Tennessee. I think she learned from Coach Knight. Pat Summit, there's no limit on manager scholarships. It's just whatever your program can afford. And of course, programs like Indiana men's basketball and Tennessee women's basketball had the money. They put these people, good basketball players, that probably Bob Knight said that his manager, intramural team made up of nothing but his managers, could have won the D3 national championship. And he expected them to win the intramural championship every year. He said that at that clinic. So he had like every player on the team had their own manager, in essence, what it looked like, close to it. And they were running the drills. He'd have him and like 3 assistants, and they were running practice. But you'd have like, one forward or center down on the low post on a side goal doing nothing but entry passes from a manager, bouncing it to it, lobbing it to him, and him repeatedly shooting nonstop and going from block to block to block to block. You say, Coach, what's this got to do with football? It's got everything to do with sports, period. First off, kids aren't going to get bored. You get a boatload done in an hour and a half to 2 hours. Some of y'all probably have listened to Joe Daniels' podcast. I think Joe Daniel, he puts a hard ceiling. It's an hour and a half. And if you can't get it done, you can't get it done. So if you practice at an up tempo, if you're recording practice so you don't have to stop to correct every little point of minutia, which is important, that's coaching now. But can you do it after practice and show them? You follow me? So you can keep going nonstop, and whatever shape you got them into in June and July, when you needed to run them and all that kind of stuff, and all that's part of bonding as a team. They got to suffer together. I believe in that too. But once that season starts, after the first week or two of August, coaches, we got to back off, keep their legs under them. I can't tell you how many guys my age and older that I've read about and that I know that I've talked to, and they said, yeah, we should have won it all that year. We would just give out. We would just give out. We had left it all on the practice field. Don't leave all the good on the practice field. And whatever you do, make it practical conditioning. And what I mean by that is it's actually learning something, actually doing something skill specific. Like I've never for the life of me, when I was practicing football at Troy, playing that's being very, very liberal with the term. When I was on the team at Troy, when we went out there before August practice, that first week back, and they made us run like 200s and 400s in a certain time. I mean, here I am, I'm 19, 20, 21 years old. And the only reason I'm playing is because I plan on being a football coach. I was giving it all I had. But the whole time there, I used to keep a notebook in my locker. Things I learned that day. It was like a football diary I wrote down. I wish I could have kept up with it. So many moves along the way, it's long lost, but it would have been a heck of a triple option, workbook, because every day I was taking notes, and some legendary coach, J.J.F. Coat, who was a great triple option coach. And of course, Willie Slater, who's now at Clark Atlanta, was the OC on the UNA teams that won three in a row back in the 90s, University of North Alabama, and also was a triple option quarterback at West Alabama, was Livingston at the time. And he was the quarterback coach there at Troy. What a great time that was. But why are we running 200s? I'm a defensive end, for crying out loud. I'm sitting there, friends of mine that are the offensive tackles and guards and the nose tackle. Why is he running 200 yards? He was, it's a toughness thing. Really? Really? So why don't we go to the Olympics and get them and put them in the trenches? See how good they do. They run really good 200s and 400s and all that. I never understood that. They said, well, one coach told me years later that was to see who was in shape and who did what they were supposed to do. I said, well, couldn't we find that out another way? Instead of wasting God knows how much. Folks, I got news for you. It didn't make me any better. Coaches, it did not make me better. Let's be honest. Me pushing myself. I never pushed myself to the point of puking, but some of my teammates did. What did puking prove? So, well, weren't y'all pretty good? Yeah, we won the national championship. But here's my point. Every other team we beat, teams in our conference, the Gulf South Conference that won 2 or 3 games, I've talked with them. They were doing the same thing we were doing, and they went 2-8. My buddy that I coached with later that went to West Alabama in the early 80s, they did the same crap we did. They went 2-8, 3-7, 4-6. That doesn't make you a better football player. It doesn't make you a better basketball player. Do something skill and sports specific. Then, several years ago, I read this book, When Pride Still Mattered, and I still have it. Right, chill. Okay? I still have that book. Well, recently, I saw it on Audible. You can see it's available on Audible and Google Play. Okay? And I said, oh, you know what? I hadn't read that book in 4 or 5 years. I got a hard copy when I bought it. I know it's expensive. I usually do soft copies, but this book and my Tubby Raymond Wing T and Order of Football, I got them in hard copy. Okay? And be nice to me. I'll leave them to you in my will. And I was listening to it on my runs. I'm still listening to it. I'm up like chapter 29. Y'all, this is a thick book. If you're a reader, and I'm a very big reader, or you not a reader and you like listening to books on your computer or whatever, I highly recommend on Google Play or Audible, not to give one favor over another. I do use Audible because it's part of Amazon. I got an Amazon account. But in it, they talk about Lombardi. Now, Lombardi ran his guys. Now, we're not going to sit here and pretend he didn't. Lombardi ran the crap out of the Packers. But during the season, he backed off on the running, and they would do things like run the Packers sweep over and over and over and over. Okay? He said, run it again. Again. And they're going against one of the best defenses in the league. There's a great line, and I want to say it was Ron Kramer, the tight end that really made it work. I think it was Kramer. I think it was the tight end. And one day they'd run it like 30 minutes straight. And defense knew it was coming. He said, run it again. And Kramer says, geez, coach, at this point, I think even Ray Nitschke knows what play's coming. And people kind of nervously laugh and kind of go, ah. And then Lombardi kind of turned away and grinned because he said, all right, that's good. Hit the showers. He ran the play over and over again to get good at it. And this is why I do things like the jet sweep drill. I do a buck sweep drill. I do you go back and I'll tag them down below and link them up, the screen drill. And I'm showing you here that you can see how we run the screen drill. Okay. Here we go. You see how we run the screen drill. And look how many bodies are involved. And you run it with multiple groups. Get every kid involved. And if you got that odd number or that kid that just can't do it yet, he's the young kid that can't do it, you can have him on the side running with the group. And you slip them in there. And I've done it where we'd go like 2 or 3 groups. And then like the third or the fourth group, there weren't even enough kids to do it. So we just have them go in their position. I'd jump in there and be the tackle if we had a guard, just to give him some, relation to where he is. Okay. Or have another coach jump in right there and be the guy. If you got like a fourth string receiver over here, let him in there, boom, boom, catch the ball. Let's look at another one. All right, this is the same drill. And again, I've got this drawn up on a video about the screen. And I'm not selling the screen drill to you. I'm selling practical conditioning to you. Okay? And I'm not really selling it, but if you want to send me money for giving you this idea, feel free to do so. My Cash App and Venmo are right out there for you. I I joke. The running back will do his thing. The quarterback will do his thing. They say all the quarterback's doing is faking and throwing. No, what I do is have the quarterback follow the football. So he's getting his conditioning in. Or what we do is like this quarterback, they swap sides. As soon as he throws it, he waits for this side to go. If you want to do them one at a time, one after another, so you can watch them. And you're coaching nonstop as you do it, and the kids are busting their butts. You do this for like 5, 10 minutes. You're actually getting better at running the screen, and you're getting in football shape. Because there is no play in football that requires you to run 200 yards. There's just not. There's no play in football that requires you to run 50 over, 50 back, 50 over, 50 back. I just described what? The legendary gasser. When do we do that? Now, is there a place for that? Yes, during June and July. Now that football's become practically year-round, you're getting them in shape for August. But once August, especially the second week of August, you need to start backing off. The human body only has so much in it. Do you want the kids to be sharp on Friday night or Saturday morning, whatever it is you play? You can't be killing them all summer and then for 10 weeks of the season. Oh, they're young, they can take it. Oh, sure, their bodies can take it, but are they going to be as good as they can be? Well, now here you see it's, and you can pause this at any time because I'm not teaching. You can go back and like I said, I'll link it down in the show description down below where you can go run the screen drill. But you can see how many bodies it involves. You got 2 centers going, you got 2 quarterbacks going. Okay? If you got many groups of kids you can get. Now here's the thing. To me, this is great for June and July conditioning. Here's why, because these are cones. Now we eventually evolved during the season and did it with bodies, or during the summer and did it with bodies. Okay? But you teach them from the very beginning, you try to teach them a play and get them in shape. It's too easy to blow the whistle and get on the line. That's not creative coaching. Come up with a drill that gets them in practical football shape where alignment is pass setting, you throwing, and then running flat for 5 steps and getting downfield and having to break down. And you have their position coaches coaching them up as they go and talking them through it. Go flat for 5, flat for 5, flat for 5. All right, get upfield, get upfield, get upfield. All right, break down, come under control, punch, punch, run your feet, run your feet, run your feet, blow the whistle, bam. And you can add to it at the end. So when the whistle blows to end it, everybody do a belly flop, get up and run to this point, run off the side of the field, run to the end zone. I love doing it from the 20 and having them run to the end zone. And I had a great DC that he'd be in there waiting on them and he'd belly flop them 2 or 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. He'd say off. Okay, then they jog back down and wait for their turn. You can, whatever it is you do, if you're going to hang your hat on the inside zone, do an inside zone drill. Okay? See, it's a full team and full staff drill. Coaches ain't standing around blowing the whistle, talking to each other in between. I hate that. I hate that. When you're running 40-yard sprints or gassers or whatever it is that you do, and you got assistant coaches standing over here. Another thing I hate is putting up the equipment. I've done it because I'm ready to go to the house when we're done. So I go there, start throwing crap in the back of my truck to take it up the hill. But I hate it. Everybody should be involved. This drill gets your whole staff involved. All right, now here's the jet drill that started the whole started my whole show. Back the first episode, we're talking about the jet and the jet drill. Okay. And notice we got 2 groups going. You're going to run it to jet right. They're going to come back over here and run jet left. And I'll link that up below too. You can see how the jet drill works. But notice it's all practical conditioning. It's conditioning done with a football specific skill in mind. Your coaches are actually coaching the entire practice because at the end, the last 5 or 10 minutes, when you're conditioning, it's not the head coach and one or two assistants out there blowing a whistle or even coaches standing there watching the line on the other side of the field, but they're just kibitzing about whatever they're going to be doing after practice, okay, or what happened in school that day. They're having to coach their position as you're working it. Notice over here, I got these guys stalking. They're using technique. And again, this is June, July work. Notice these are for people. He said, well, we're not allowed to use footballs until August, coach. Get a friggin' towel and snap it and run jet with a towel. Been there, done that. Okay? There's no ball at all. Just get them out there running stuff. It says that June and July are for conditioning. Okay, this is conditioning. And it's football specific. They're actually doing something related to football. I've done it with pass pro. Because how many times do we we talk about the lineman loafing on a pass, get their butt downfield, find the football, especially if you want to go tempo and snap it real quick. Have them pass set, have them on the clock, blow the whistle, say passes away, they take off and they sprint to wherever the ball is. Anything you can do to make it football specific. I know I've rambled and rambled and rambled, but I haven't done a theory or t- philosophy video in a while. It's been a lot of X's and O's, but it was just something when I was listening to the book, and I haven't read it. Like I said, it's been 5 or 6 years since I read the book, and I was listening to it again the last couple of weeks, and that part came up about even Lombardi back in the late 50s and early 60s running football specific stuff to get his team in shape or maintain their conditioning that they'd got in, during July and August when they started the middle of July back then. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about was just practical conditioning drills. Okay. Now remember to share it, to like it, subscribe to it. If you're not subscribing to it, it's Football Talk with Coach Chip. Share it with your friends. Go back and look at some of the other videos. If you're a newbie to the channel, this is all, it's some folks say it's good stuff. Some say it's elementary stuff. The football to me is elementary. I think we overthink it sometimes. Believe you me, there was a time in my career where I overthought it too. You don't need to do that. Okay? Football is not a difficult game. Okay? It's blocking and tackling. And that's how it is at the end of the day. And all the other stuff we do is just, whatever's in style right now. And that's a fact. And of course, what the rules, give us the ability to do. And the rules have changed in such a way now as to why we're running football the way we are. All right. That's it for this episode of Football Talk with Coach Chip. Remember, I'm siegel.chip@gmail.com. It's down below in the description. Feel free to comment down below. Please share it. Tell your friends about it. And this is just an idea. What do you think? What do you do to get in shape? Are you still in that 1970s, running gassers, or even 80s and 90s? We were still doing it. Or are you moving on to other things? I mean, who are you going to argue? Are you going to argue with Lombardi and Knight? I mean, what did Knight win? 3? Last undefeated men's national championship team in D1. Lombardi, I mean, my God, his name's on the Super Bowl trophy. And they even believed in it. I'm not saying don't run your kids. I'm just saying once that season starts, think about backing off. Maybe run them on Monday and run that weekend out of them. Get them back in, run them a little bit beginning of practice or something like that. And then do things like this that actually make them better football players. Because as Coach Knight said, what are you, a track coach? All right, until next time, come on, y'all. Be elite.